which is very, very sad, because actually each one of these speakers we could have listened to for half an hour or more, and I'm sure a lot of you have got an awful lot to say. So we are very, very restricted in time. I see quite a lot of people have walked out already, so that was obviously Mr. Anglo-American. I'm not going to go into that. If you like, later on I will read you what Mr. James Wyatt Tilby from Anglo-American wrote to me this morning. Dear John, I won't, you wouldn't like it. It's very embarrassing. No, because we won't. We just accepted that they are not guilty of anything at all, and they look after their workers very, very well, and they pay them very well, and so what are you all complaining about? So that's basically in a nutshell. We've done a little piece of the Guardian for tomorrow, so you can, you don't have to buy it anymore, you can just get it on the web. But thank you for looking at all the web. Now, we've got 2 minutes of Richard Sullivan and London Mining Network, who's going to set us off on the short debate on what we can do. So, Richard, over to you.
Yeah, this final bit of the meeting is about ideas for what we can do primarily. Now, if there's time, ask questions of the speakers. But there are 2 things that we invite you to do later this week. One is come to the demonstration outside the Rio Tinto annual general meeting on Thursday from 10 till 11 AM outside the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre in Westminster, opposite Westminster Abbey, and then come back for more in the same place on Friday from 1 till 2 PM outside the Anglo-American AGM. It would be really helpful to have you there. Next thing to think about is, if you want to do something on these issues in solidarity with our speakers, don't do it alone. Get together with people who are already doing it, which I hope we will hear from in a minute, and get stuck in. And don't leave here without considering what you can actually do. There are several groups I know have got things to say, either specifically on the issues raised this evening or on related things. I know Columbia Solidarity has got some things to say, and World Development Movement and Results UK. So maybe we could kick off briefly with Saoirse from Results UK. If you could just say something, 1 minute, about the film that we saw part of, and which is a trailer for something longer.
Yeah, shall I start here?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Saoirse, I work at Results UK, we're an advocacy organisation, and we've been working with a campaign called Dying for Gold, which is all about TB and mining. The miners in Southern African gold mines is the highest rate of TB in the entire world. And the poem you saw earlier is actually part of a documentary called They Go to Die, which has been showing all over the UK. The film follows 4 mine workers who have been working in Anglo Gold Ashanti mine, and they contract HIV and TB, and when they become too ill to work, they're just sent home to their home communities without any compensation or any means to purchase treatment. And they have a high infectious disease. Any person with active TB will go on to infect between 10 and 15 people a year. So it's a really terrible situation, and we basically get people to take action by petitioning Anglo Gold Ashanti. So I put one of these on everyone's chair, and we're going to be delivering them to the UK Secretary for Anglo Gold Ashanti sometime next month. And just to give you a bit of hope that sometimes it seems that signing an action card or writing a letter won't do anything, but we recently heard we have a follow-up action to this, which is getting people to write to their MPs to ask DFID to convene a meeting to bring Anglo Gold Ashanti to the table to discuss how they can improve their practices. And we heard from DFID South Africa that Justine Breeding, the head of DFID, has been inundated with constituent letters about this issue and has been briefed on it, and is set to make an announcement about it in the next couple of months. So that's really positive. And advocacy is an ongoing thing. You can't stop. It's cumulative. So don't lose hope, and please sign action card. We've got over 1,000 so far. It would be great if we could build that weight and present it to Anglo Gold Ashanti and prove that this issue is very much alive within the collective conscience, and that we will hold them accountable for their negligence. And I'll tell you at the end of the meeting.
Is London listed even though it's South African based,
Yeah.
and Columbia Solidarity's got something to say about that. Is that have you finished?
Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. So Andy from Columbia Solidarity could say something about the work on Anglo Gold.
It follows very directly on from the last contribution. I mean, following the expropriation of coal from Latin America, there's a major search for El Dorado around the world. And in Colombia in particular, Anglo Gold Ashanti is leading this. It's affecting dozens and hundreds of communities around the country. We know it on its website, you'll see it talks about 5 or 6 major open cast gold mines in one country alone, and probably there will be more if it can do it. We're in particular working with communities, campesino farmers and environmentalists in Cajamarca, which is in the centre of Colombia, and we're hoping to take representatives of that opposition movement to Johannesburg, to the AGM of Anglo Gold Ashanti next month, in fact. And we're very keen to see a sort of solidarity between peoples of the South, which we can see here on the platform as well. I actually think that most people in this room are active and do want to do things against the corporations. I mean, our challenge really is to go out beyond this room, and I think we need more time to discuss how we can work, because we all have actions that we can call attention to, but I think we need to have a concept of building a movement and not just a collection of sticks, but something stronger, not campaigns, but a movement. Because the fundamental thing is that London is the centre of mining finance, and it's not a coincidence that people have to come from all over the world to London. So we're really appreciative of London Mining Network, and just as a proposal, we should have more time to continue this discussion beyond what the next concrete action is. We need to have a strategy or build on what London Mining Network is already doing. I just want to draw attention to one thing that I know that I've done in La Guajira, is this thing of uniting trade unions and communities is fundamental. It's fundamental here actually in fighting Thatcherism today as well as burying her at last, right? And so I think that we should think of these themes as well as in how they relate to our reality here.
Alex from WDM. Is Alex in the room? Yes, do you want to say anything about your current campaign that you launched recently on high street banks and mine finance?
Yeah, basically, World Urban Movement is launching a campaign called Carbon Capital. And the reason we called it that is because a lot of the capital, the money going to companies like Rio Tinto, Anglo American, BHP Billiton and so on, is coming from our own pockets. It's coming from our bank accounts, pension funds, insurance policies, through the banks, through the big pension funds. And our campaign is seeking to expose that and move towards a situation where we can call for more regulation to make sure that money doesn't get there. So people's pensions in this country aren't funding destruction in Colombia, destruction in Mongolia, South Africa, and across the world. And we've currently got an action targeted at Vince Cable, who's the business secretary, who's in charge of the Companies Act, to call for big fossil fuel companies, including mining companies, to account for not the companies, the banks themselves, to account for what they've done to fund fossil fuel companies, including mining companies. But that's just the first step of what we're seeking to do in targeting the City of London and the sort of financial hub. That's the sort of the route which is nourishing all these horrible, corrupt corporations which are destroying so many lives. So basically, just watch this space. And yeah, if you'll see on your chairs, a little booklet named Carbon Capital, and there you'll see kind of a quite short and easy to digest summary of why we're campaigning against the City of London, why we see that the financial institutions as being some of the main criminals behind the destruction that you've heard about today. So do have a look at the booklets and keep up to date on our website, and campaign, hopefully with us, well, the organisations here today, against both the mining companies and the banks and pension funds which are funding them. Thanks.
I'll hand back to John now to chair things, but if any of you want to be kept in touch with London Mining Network events and get news about London-based mining companies and mine finance, you can email us at contact@londonminingnetwork.org and sign up to our ask to sign up to our newsletter, or you can contact us through the website, and the address is on the screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Before I live in Wales, and I don't know if you know, but Wales actually had one of the greatest successes ever against Rio Tinto, because back in the 1960s, they planned to dig up the Malbac estuary in Snowdonia, which is probably the most beautiful valley in the world, if anyone knows it, and much of Snowdonia. And what it took was a bunch of people at Oxford and various other universities and a great public outcry, and it stopped it. It stopped it, and they've never dared. They've still got the plans to go ahead. They still want to dredge every river because they know there's copper, they know there's gold there, and they plan to do it on a massive scale, just like at Cerrejón, just like at these other mines here. And it was stopped by public outcry, and that's what we need. And we need to somehow back up these fantastic campaigns which are going on now. But I'm saying is that it is possible. Times have changed, but there is definitely hope. Now, who has got specific ideas or specific questions which we could ask of the panel here? I'd ask you to be short if possible, because we really don't have much time. So line up. Who's first? Who's got any questions? Is the man from Rio Tinto still here?
No.
Actually, one of the back, please.
Hi, my name is Bernard Wilson, and I'm from Alaska, and we're fighting both Anglo American and Rio Tinto on a proposed mine.
Both of those.
Yeah, both of them. They're teaming up on us. But I came here as a representative of this organization in the United States and Canada called the Western Mining Action Network. And what the Western Mining Action Network is interested in doing is really talking with people from throughout the world and listening to people and sort of using that network so that we could empower ourselves. And we've sort of done this in North America, and I think this is a great first start to sort of, continue that network throughout the globe. And so I'm hoping that we could, I don't know who is filming this, but
Occupy London, sorry.
Hopefully we could get copies of that. We could share contact information and all of that stuff, and that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, it's going to be available on YouTube, so sorry.
So any other ideas on one of the front here, please?
I have some good news. There's a very good international organisation that can help us with our campaign. That organisation is the Global Women's Strike, which is a worldwide movement of women working for peace and justice throughout the world. If you would like further information, the website is www.globalwomensstrike.net.uk, and they also speak Spanish on that website as well.
There you go. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for that one. Any other ones? Can we ask people some of the people who come here, what would be the most useful thing you can think of that people in London could do? Where do you think are the weak points of these companies? How would you like us here to put pressure on these companies for you or with you? Is there anyone here who could help us out?
Give it a better. Go ahead.
Look, for all these multinational companies, image is the most important thing. They thrive on image, and you all have a responsibility. I mean, I spoke to somebody outside who said to me, "What do I do? Because I have a brother-in-law working for Anglo Gold Ashanti." And I say, educate your brother-in-law so that your brother-in-law can make a difference going back into Anglo Gold's meetings. You start small. The small contribution that he can make in trying to transform would go a long way in changing the status quo. So every one of us can make a contribution. Let's start on Thursday by coming to the AGM demonstration and end it on Friday. And get involved, just get involved. Make a noise, speak to the media in your personal capacities. You can do that. Redirect the attention to the general public. Become the voice of the voiceless.
Roger, come in and then Alexander. And
Well,
then...
it's I think this is truly a case of great minds think alike, but it's maybe I'm an eternal optimist here, but I think we're in a really good position right now. Rio Tinto has made some really dumb corporate decisions, and that's put them in a world of financial hurt. They just wrote off $14 billion in bad debt over a couple of bad corporate decisions. They just had a massive landslide at the world's largest copper mine in Salt Lake City, Bingham Canyon, where nature took its course and backfilled the pit for them. And that's going to be a real black eye for them. At least in our case in Arizona, our education fight is showing results, and people are beginning to understand. But for all of these dumb things that Rio Tinto has done and all of its financial troubles, you got to give them credit for their PR machines. And that's where you guys really can come in, is that they bought off the media in many cases, and so we don't have those avenues, but we have the people power. And so that's where, right now we're preaching to the choir, but you guys in the choir have a lot of people that aren't in the choir, and that's what we really need is to just expand our pool of potential people that can help us out in ever so many ways.
Alexander, do you want to come in here?
Yeah. Those are all excellent ideas. In addition, I think that as we're part of a global network, the struggles that you're fighting and the struggles that you're participating in here in London are just as relevant, because the world is looking at huge financial centers like London, like New York, and very influential governments as precedent setters for future policies. So I say that as a way to encourage the activism that you're already doing, because we're all in this together. Further, it could be that your university or your church or your civic organization is invested in Rio Tinto, and unless they are offering up their positions as proxies for people like us to come as dissident shareholders, I urge you to get them to divest their resources. These are the meanest and nastiest companies in the world. There's no reason that they should be ethically, there's no grounds for any ethics to invest in them. And that can be as simple as a petition, starting in your neighborhood. That can be as simple as making phone calls to whoever does the investing at your university or a civic organization. You can find this information out, you can disseminate it, and you can actually make very fast-moving changes in that regard in your own way.
Okay.
Very good. There's a man back to you.
Hi, cheers, John. My name's Jules Kirby. I work at Panacea from our Make It Better campaign. So just a quick suggestion. We've got one of our stickers on it. Maybe we'll find that. A suggestion and a question to the panel. So the suggestion is, so we've talked about the mining companies themselves, obviously their impacts and attacking them, especially attacking the brand, absolutely. And also the role of investors and pension companies and so on, putting pressure on them. I think another way into this is where does this stuff end up? And it ends up, places like this,
Phones.
in your phone, in your computers and whatever. So to go after those brands too. And the approach that we've taken is to go to those companies, so Apple and Samsung to start with, looking at Pet10, and say, do you know where you get your stuff from? And show them, highlight some of these stories. And I want to broaden that out to the whole of Apple's supply chain. I look at some of the other, bauxite, heard about tonight, other things. I bet you some of that stuff is in the Apple supply chain. So I think a suggestion is that we could think about how, as individuals, as groups, or whatever, we actually just go to those brands as well and ask those companies, where's your stuff coming from? And to put them on the ropes a little bit. And then the question really for you guys is to build on that. I wonder if any of you guys can help with the mines, the companies, that you're involved with, that you're fighting, do you know who they're selling on to? Because a lot of what they sell go onto an open market, whatever, we should trade it around. But there are a lot of direct contracts as well. And it's through knowing about that sort of relationship that we can start to link up those brands and then really bring the story home. So embarrass those brands, Apple, Samsung, whatever, so that then they're also exerting pressure back onto the companies who are actually wreaking the havoc that you're dealing with.
And you can play Apple and Samsung against
Which is, yes.
Yes, they're in incredible competition.
Yeah.
Sir Carol, would you like to come in here? What can we do for Mongolia?
I don't think this is Mongolia specific, but it's the developing world and the developed world, is that when you guys, activists, strongly push out those toxic businesses and sectors, you should know that they're coming to the developing world. And in the developing world, they can and they do cause more damage, because in the developing world, we do not have the technical capacity to watch them, to hold them compliant with the required standards. So this is one issue that maybe should be discussed in the environmental activism discussion that these will go now to the developing world. Like Mongolia does not make in any type of minerals, it does not make the top 10 of the world, mineral resources, but it's brainwashed. The governments are brainwashed, telling that Mongolia is the richest place. You should do everything, jump over your head and hill to attract big foreign investment. And all of your taxpayer money goes into the projects to mine coal. EBRD, 90% of EBRD's money in Mongolia goes to mining and coal mining and coal power plants. One other thing I also wanted to add, I think I lost my second thought, but this one, yes, specifically would like to pay attention when you're pushing for less coal and less climate change. That climate change will bring in much higher. Mongolia is already higher than the world average in climate change impacts. 2 degrees Celsius and 4 kilometers per year desertification and high per capita CO2 emissions. And it's mining coal all over the place just to sell it to China. You just have to know where your produce goes. Our produce goes to make China stronger. Make China stronger. That's the only advantage of Mongolia, mining in Mongolia.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're doing this rush. One in the front row and one in the back, please. And keep it really short. We really only have 2-3 minutes now.
Yeah, I just want a quick point there. I think the key thing is information. I think all of us here, the majority here is like you're environmental action in some kind of way. So you tell your friends and you start spreading news, social media and stuff like that. Because one thing they're showing in the previous campaigns is that corporations don't know quite how to deal with when they've been attacked on social media. So it's something I think I'll encourage more on, and once you have a way of going, I think that it's open what you see basically.
Great, thank you. And one on the back, please.
Hi, my name is Graciela and I work for 101. I just wanted one note on, I think people have mentioned the UK government involvement in all of this. We're talking about companies, about investors, but the UK government is complicit of all these abuses because they are not controlling these companies. The financial conduct authority was trying to the government back up, but to try to stop these companies, and then they block the whole possibility of have this new body regulating these companies. So we need to demand also to the UK government to stop being complicit with these mining companies. They are based here in London, so they should be regulating them.
Okay, definitely.
One more question.
So, hi, Obi. My name's Obi. I'm from Occupy London. This actually goes straight to Occupy News Network. Just have to point out that there are actually tours called Occupy City of London Tour that will actually tell you everything about the the international mining companies that are based in the City of London. We actually had the Carnival of Dirt in the City of London. People saying, "Why are you here? Why don't you go to those countries and protest outside their offices?" Actually, we told them they're all based in London, City of London. So all the problems actually from that happening in all those other countries are because of the people in the City of London, and unfortunately, that's actually the British Empire as well. Thank you.
Yeah, a quick advert from my colleague Jane outside on the Columbia Solidarity stall. People in Tobacco, one of the communities that was destroyed for the Serahon mine years ago, made these friendship bracelets which have the date on that their town was destroyed. And Jane is selling these in order to raise money for support for mining affected communities. So if you've got any spare cash, a donation of whatever size for a friendship bracelet made by the people of Tobacco, that's the end of the advert.
Thank you.
Great. We're going to have to stop it here. I'm really sorry. I'm not even going to attempt to sum it up. I mean, these people have spoken fantastically well, and thank you all very, very much. The message which has come over is that London, like it or not, and we don't like it or not, London is now one of the world capitals of finance for these companies, and therefore we have an extra responsibility. So we have to do something. We can all do something in our own way, different ways, different contributions. Thank you very much for coming. You've been a brilliant audience. Thank you very much to our speakers, all of whom.
Okay, there's less people now.
See you on Thursday, and see you on Friday, and maybe even see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye. Thanks very much.
Okay, guys, thank you for joining us, and I shall see you later on. Anyway, check out, yes, Occupy News Network. I shall actually be uploading this on YouTube as well. Thank you. So, see you later.